Hey everybody, it is the day after. It is September 2nd, 2023, the day after the final run of the Chile line, and this video is going to be a quick walk around video to document my version of the Chile line, which is also facing abandonment. As soon as this video is completed, I'm going to start packing up cars and getting ready for the dismantling of the layout to be moved to a new location. So we'll start here, coming from Alamosa into Antonito. This section of the layout was never completed, but I did have the water tank, the Y to at least be able to turn the engines, and this was my version of the final run. I didn't try to recapture it in its exact consist, but this is the final run. As we move out of Antonito, past the sheep dip area, and we head past down the line, heading to past what might have been out in the high desert south of Antonito. This area of the layout was built on a very narrow shelf, and the grade here did require two C19s, which of course wasn't totally untypical for the winter months on the Chile line, but very loosely represented the area around Mount San Antonio, Volcano, etc. Behind the view block, we come into Tres Piedras station, water tank. As you will note, this is kind of a mirror image of the real Tres Piedras with the tank on the north side. When you look at the layout, to your right was always north. To the left was south towards Santa Fe. So we have a model of the station Tres Piedras. This was the only station that I did not scratch build. This is a modified kit. As we leave Tres Piedras, we come to the stock loading point of Servieta. This was also built on a fairly narrow shelf. Stock pins. And as we leave Servieta, we head on south on the line towards Taos Junction. The scene is one model off of the highway on 285 in New Mexico, where you can see the stonework, etc. Just happened to fit in this area, pretty nice area south of Tres Piedras, generally known on topo maps as Indian Lake. Across behind the view block, which is a technique I use to represent distance on the layout, and we come into Taos Junction with the Conoco dealer, the abandoned warehouse, the station itself. I had moved a work train here on a previous op session, and then the little town of Taos Junction with the branch to La Madera, leaving on the right hand side, and the cistern, etc., for filling the tanks. Taos Junction Station was scratch built, and again it is a mirror image to allow the operation of the layout to be a little more prototypical. As we leave Taos Junction, we'll head down Bronco Hill. The two bridges you'll see in the video were modeled after the prototypes. However, this was opportune for a turnback curve. So on the real Chile line, the curve was the opposite direction. And give my meaning on that. But this is a 4% grade, a little challenging with the curvature here, which was, I believe, a little over 24 to 26 inches, and the 4% grade. We'll head on down towards Embudo. So we head down the Bronco Hill grade, across the little trestle and the spillway that was just north of Embudo, the Rio Grande River, the pump house which fed the water tank, turntable, sand house in the background, stone warehouse, stone depot. This was the garage that you can see in some videos. We have the kitchen and the ice house. You can barely see the door in the background. Telegraph pole on top of the little hill. We move over across the creek to the coal dock. My representation of the little ore transfer facility, the warehouse that stood at one time, and on to the eating house, the bunkhouse, and the other wagon bridge. The vehicle here is a model from Jim Vale, layout that I was able to get at one of our narrow gauge cabal meetings. I painted all the backdrops on the layout. This is for Embudo Canyon. I was really happy with this one, and after that, I wasn't so happy with my other efforts. But anyway, we move along the Rio Grande River. And a little farm village north of Espanola, somewhat representing the Velarde area. And we continue heading south across the Chama River crossing. This is not a prototypical bridge, but it's one I've had for many, many years and decided to use it in this location. Makes a good scene break. And we move on into Espanola. My version of Otero Street is flip-flop from the way it was. It's on the opposite side of the tracks based upon the way Espanola was, but I felt it fit very well in this location. Built some of the background buildings that stood, you can see in photos of Espanola. And I did include the elevator. Not very many clear pictures of the real one that stood there. and as it was abandoned later in the life of the Chile line. This one is a model of the one that still stands today in Clayton, New Mexico. Most all the structures on the layout were scratch built, very few kit bashes, although there are some, and you'll be able to pick them out as we go through the video. I included the stock pens, the Conoco loading facility. We leave the bridge on the south, leave Espanola on the south end with the bridge, and come through Black Mesa. Again, this is reversed from the real Chile line, but again, it fit the turn back curve, and the church that stands near San Ildefonso. An Indian Detours car taking the turistas to see. All right, let's head on into Otowi. So we head south, see the buildings, Edith Warner's house, the pickup truck, the gas station, gas pump she had, represented by these structures. Otowi Boxcar Station served the Los Alamos Boys Ranch, and from there we cross the Rio Grande on the Otowi Bridge, much compressed. Figured this would be a signature scene on the layout, and I have redone the scenery a couple times in here to it to be where I wanted it. As we leave Otowi Bridge heading south, we come upon Rio Grande Tank, and the track goes through a backdrop, mini backdrop in the background as we head into Santa Fe. Lots more to cover on the Chile line to represent the real one, but as always, space dictates what you can add to a layout. Again, heading south from Rio Grande Tank. This area would represent Buckman, other areas that I did not have room for. We come through the view block and we come into the north end of Santa Fe, the Indian school in the background, Manderfield Mausoleum. Of course, all this area is pretty compressed on the layout. This would represent the Star Lumber Company, which does have a siding. Across the bridge over the Arroyo. The school is just being built in this time frame. Under construction. We come to the Santa Fe Y, the old depot from the Texas Santa Fe and Northern. During this period, it was used as an ice house and storage. The building with the two chimneys, we have a footprint of it, but we have no photos, so that's as close as I could get to it. We have the sand house, the tool house, the oil house, and here at the end of the Y, where they coaled the engines and resanded. There is a public water connection, which the Rio Grande used in the latter years after they abandoned the water column that was down in the rail yard. Okay, so under this, we do a quick little duck under portion of the unfinished FN3 layout. And we come back under there from the Montoya house on up the Y, and head to another area I was working on to represent part of Santa Fe. Assembly of God Church, which is on West San Francisco until Guadalupe or Jefferson Street then was widened. That was my version of it. And a photo here. Most everything I did was some photos. I'm not a very good freelancer. Okay, so we would approach Santa Fe River. There was to be a trestle here. Crossing the trestle, we come up to the group of buildings with the Santuario, a representation of the Sinclair station that stood across the street, which did have two wings to the building, which I did not complete. Chavez School. We got DeVargas Avenue, and then just some miscellaneous placeholder buildings as we head down Guadalupe to the station. Passing behind the view block for the Y. The Y was an idea I got from Steve Harris on having a Y go across an aisle. It's worked okay. Got the Capitol Coal Yard representation, the bottling plant, the ill-filled grocery warehouse, the more modern version that stood in the late 30s. And we head into the rail yard with the Santa Fe Depot, the building from the Quality Fruit Company that had the reefers built into it that were discovered, I think, in the early 2000s in Santa Fe when they tore the building down. This was a modified kit of the Santa Fe Depot. I scratch-built the New Mexico Central DNRGW Union Station, Tomasita's today. It's in the process of adding keep alives in the little C-19s, which made a lot of difference, but I haven't covered them yet with a coal load. And as we approach the south end of the Santa Fe rail yard, I have my version of the Gross Kelly Company. In fact, I met someone recently who told me that their grandfather worked in that facility unloading boxcars, which was pretty interesting. We have the warehouse here. We determined it was a metal building, so I represented it with rust streaks, etc. The abandoned transfer shed. And we moved down to Monero Coal Company, which was a customer of the Chile line in its latter years. So we've reached the end of the line. We've reached the end of the line for the layout. We've reached the end of the line on a little walking tour. Hope you've enjoyed it. I'll include some still photos. And as the abandonment proceeds, I'll document some videos and photos and post them on the channel. Anyway, thanks for watching. It's been a great 15 years of building this, and I look forward to when I can rebuild the Chile line in its new home. Thanks, everybody.